Okay, so this is my 2025 Haibike Allmtn 6. I've had it for about 2 or 3 months now, put about 70 miles on it. So I'm just going to give you my initial impressions of it, things that I've upgraded or done to it already, and a couple of other useful bits that you might find helpful, whether it be on a Haibike or any other e-bike. So before I go into the upgrades I've done to it, the kind of riding I do really is a mix of sort of trail slash light enduro riding, red and black routes at trail centres. I also ride a lot of natural stuff. In fact, if you look at my previous video on my Trek Rail 5, you'll see where I've gone somewhere in Shropshire, just to give you a flavour of the kind of riding I do and the reasons I've gone for the upgrades that I have on this bike. So in terms of setup, I'm 5'10". This is a size large. As standard, it comes with a 780 wide bar. I've trimmed this down to 760, just personal preference. That's what I've always worked with. I've got gusset single file lock-on grips, which are fantastic. I've mounted the Kiox display over the top of the stem. I also bought a little Garmin lanyard, and when I go riding, I just attach that to one of the cables, just so that if this comes off, I won't lose it. Standard 150mm drop seat post, which is good enough for me. However, I have upgraded the saddle to an Ergon SME mountain in a size large. I've had this saddle for quite a while now, used it on my previous bike, and I just find that this saddle is really, really comfortable, especially on longer rides of 20+ miles. It really does make a difference. So one of the first things I upgraded on this bike was the brakes. It did have Shimano's on before, but I think they were 420s or something very basic like that. So I upgraded to the Dior M60-120, which I find is a great brake. It's a 4-piston caliper. I run it with sintered metal pads inside, and I have a 220 disc at the front and a 203 on the rear. And I've got those front and back. So very usefully, the hose, the Shimano BH90 hose, was the same for these M6 120 brakes as what they were on the ones that were fitted originally. So all I had to do for the rear brake was disconnect it at each end up here and also down at the caliper, reconnect my new caliper and my new lever, give it a bleed, and it was good to go. And they feel great so far. So something else I've upgraded as well is I've gone to Hope 155mm cranks. I prefer shorter cranks because I find you just get a lot less rock strikes. I feel a little bit more confident on them, and they do look particularly nice as well. Running Superstar Nano Evo pedals. And it's worth pointing out as well that when I took this crank arm off, I also took off the Bosch lock ring and I applied some Loctite 248 to the threads. I then put it back on, torque tightened it back up again, and I put a couple of witness marks just there with a white paint pen, just so that you can see if it's coming undone or if there's any creep. I also did the same with the witness marks on the crank just there as well, if you can see that. And it just helps, so if it's starting to come loose or come undone, I can visually see it before I notice it all wobbling around out on the trails. Another upgrade I've done is I've gone to the Hope Fortus 30 rims on Hope Pro 5 rear hubs, and also gone to Schwalbe tyres as well. I think this originally came with Continentals. I've always ridden this setup, and it's just a tyre setup I completely trust. So I have a Magic Mary on the front in a 2.6, and I have a Big Betty on the back in a 2.4. These wheels, I had these exact wheels on my previous Trek Rail, and I find them bomb-proof. So I do ride quite hard sometimes and barrel through things, and I've found these wheels to just so far be really solid. I've not had to tweak them or do anything with them, and just very happy with them. They sound pretty good as well, if you like the Hope sound. So if you're going to convert tubeless on this bike, or actually any bike with the Bosch Gen 5 motor in it, it's worth notice that the magnet for the motor pickup is actually just here in this block. So on my previous bike, it was a magnet attached to the rotor brake disc, And as a result, my standard tubeless valves weren't actually long enough to go through the rim, through the block, and then have enough left over to get a pump on. So I did have to go out and buy a muck-off extra length valve just for the rear. Obviously it's not a problem at the front. So that is something to consider. A standard length tubeless valve won't work. You're going to need a longer one like that. So the front triangle is big enough to fit a large water bottle in as well. So I've gone for a fidlock just because I find them really useful. So that's mounted there, and then the large bottle just clips straight in. As you can see, you've got loads of clearance around it. You could probably fit a frame strap and maybe mount an inner tube or bits and pieces under there as well if you wanted to. I haven't tried that yet. It's something I might try in the future. So suspension wise, and specifically fork, this has got the RockShox Silo Gold fork on. Now when I bought this bike, I fully expected I'd need to upgrade this. I've actually already got a Fox 36 as well that will fit straight on, that was on my previous Trek. But to be honest, after 3 or 4 rides, this fork has actually really impressed me. I can't feel a great bit of difference between the performance of this and the Fox 36 that I had on my Trek rail. So to be honest, I'm going to run it a bit longer and actually just see how I get on with it. And if it's not holding me back or I feel comfortable on it, I don't think I will upgrade it at all. The shock feels pretty good as well. No external reservoir on it, but I'm finding it's quite supportive mid-stroke and when you're hitting it on the trails. So another thing to note about this fork then, on the RockShox website, if you look up what fenders fit the Silo, it tells you that any 35mm stanchioned fork fender will fit. So the ones that fit the Lyric and the Pike. So I went out and I bought one, as you can see here, look, 35mm, RockShox Pike and Lyric. So it's definitely the right fender. However, when I tried fitting this fender, it doesn't line up with the 3 bolt holes on there. Could not get it to fit at all. So for now, I've just repackaged it and I'll take it back. So initial impressions, I'm really liking the bike so far. It feels very supple, very supportive. Being a mixed wheel size, I've come from a 29, so the rear end does feel ever so slightly more flickable. The bike does feel quite heavy on the trails though, so we'll see how I get on with that. But otherwise, initial impressions, I'm really happy with it, really enjoying it. Nothing I'm going to immediately upgrade for now. I'm quite liking it as it is. Everything's working well. Like I say, the forks, I'll see how I get on with them. But so far, even those have been fantastic. So with the upgrades that I've done, specifically the brakes, the wheels, the cranks, this bike really does feel quite confidence inspiring. And I'm looking forward to spending the rest of the summer on it. So hopefully get some more videos out. If I do any more upgrades on it, I will make a video as I go. And if anyone's got any specific questions or anything they want to know, please just feel free to ask down below in the comments. Cheers.